Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today with the Shift Series. This is Jamie Rautenberg. Jamie and I are new friends, learning more about each other's journey. Jamie has a lot to contribute to the wellness community and a lot of personal experience, but also coaching expertise in chronic illness, Lyme disease, and also chronic pain. So I'm just honored and thrilled to have you with us here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Yeah, I've had kind of an interesting journey with this life of mine. Came into this world relatively ill and was on IV antibiotics as a baby for a rare eye infection. And ever since, I've had a lot of trouble with chronic infections, and we didn't really know what was wrong with me. And I went most of my life just getting sicker and sicker and sicker and going to different doctors and specialists. And it really took until I was 31, which was last year, a year and a half ago, when I found out that I'd been living with late-stage Lyme disease and multiple viruses, multiple infections. And it's kind of prompted this inner revolution for me to start thedailyinfusion.com.
That is amazing. So tell me a little bit about what that journey into wellness and healing was like for you, because you also are helping others on their recovery journey. Did that come post-Lyme diagnosis, or were you already working in the wellness field?
Well, I actually used to work in entertainment, so I kind of pivoted paths after I went to NYU's art school, and I was going to do film and television. So I worked in that realm for a bit, and it felt like something was kind of missing, and I wanted to be of service more. So I went to social work school, and that's when I really decided, this was 6 years ago, that I just wanted to help people and make a difference, especially with trauma in particular. I was always very drawn to trauma. So that's when I started working in addiction and trauma and helping people in group therapy and one-on-one therapy. And I was getting kind of ill myself while I was helping people, and I noticed I couldn't necessarily process what I was working with professionally and what I was trying to balance personally with my health. So that's when I really decided to take a step back, and that's when I found out I had Lyme disease, and I needed to basically spend time resting in bed and recovering.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So then you were able to focus on that inner piece of your journey. And it sounds like the daily infusion was kind of born as a way, both a coping mechanism, but a way to help educate the community about your journey. Tell me how that evolved for you.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I wrote a blog for a year, a private little blog spot called writeronpause.blogspot.com. And it was my journey back to writing, which I intended to go through in the movie industry and in film and TV. I wanted to be a writer. So it had been 10 years since I'd really worked creatively like that. And I figured maybe getting in touch with that would be very healing for me on some level. And I could also process my feelings about this experience of going through Lyme disease treatment and having a port put in my chest and giving myself infusions and getting really sick in the process. And that just evolved into, I want to do this bigger. I want to help more people. I want to be able to use the skills I have as a therapist to help this community that I believe is kind of underserved. And there's so many of us, and we all have the ability to create a life, and I don't know if everyone believes it. And so there can't be too many cheerleaders.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. You're doing it so beautifully, so honestly, so eloquently. And it's very clear that you have that depth of understanding from your trauma work as well. What are the overlaps in your mind between inner wounds, trauma, and chronic illness, and how those manifest? Is there a connection?
Oh, for sure. I would definitely say, especially working in addiction, what I noticed is a lot of, it's sort of like when you're working with people who have an addiction to anything, it's a substitute for maybe an emotion that they can't process. So when you get to the point where you're addicted to really hardcore drugs like I was working with, and heroin and things such as that, they're in a lot of pain. There's a lot of trauma underneath all of those actions. So I mean, I dealt with pain every day, really hardcore pain, and people who've gone through horrific things, and it impressed me and taught me how to get through my own pain better. It was really an exchange of energy. So that's just sort of been, I don't see a difference really, because it's all coming down to processing your emotions about your experience. Absolutely. And this is an intense experience.
Absolutely. You have bumped into many of the pieces that people on this chronic illness journey do, of many years, multiple diagnoses, many practitioners, right up to your Lyme diagnosis, where you did begin with a port and antibiotics, and then you experience needing to transition off of that. How did that go for you? I know sometimes we get attached that there's only one way to heal, or I have to do this one thing, or I may never recover. How did you navigate that uncertainty and trust in your process?
I think that had to do with really jumping into and making friends with my fear because I was totally afraid all the time. Every time I had a symptom, just in my entire 20s in New York City was just going to all the top doctors trying to figure out what's going on, and then telling me it's cancer, it's, your pituitary gland, there's something wrong with it, you have a tumor here. And it was just like the most horrible, horrific things that you could get slapped on you to live with. And I didn't really know that there were any other options to deal with any of these illnesses. I thought there was only one way. I thought there was, you go to the doctor, and the doctor has the solution, and you take the solution, and if it doesn't work, there's something wrong with you. Or not there's something wrong with you.
Sure.
It makes you feel that way.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like, why am I the person that this is not working?
Exactly.
And so then I think a lot of us get pushed into the corner where we're kind of forced to seek alternatives because we are desperate in a way. So I'd like to say it came from a more divine place. So I was desperate.
Yes.
I was totally desperate, and I just wanted to know what is wrong. Something is not right, and people are telling me it's fine, but I just have an inner knowing, and I got to go with that. And out of my fear, when I got the diagnosis, it was like, okay, this is the only treatment I've heard of. So I'm just going to rush and do this because I don't want to die. Yeah. So that's sort of why I kind of rushed into getting that fourth put in. It was really just I wanted to have something that I know that something could change maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what was that process like for you when you realized it wasn't working?
And I call it my divine descent.
Yeah.
Because it was beautiful and horrible at the same time, where I felt like I had to die metaphorically first, and I became a puddle of myself, a shell of the person that I was, and grieve everything that I thought I was in the life that I was going to have. Yeah. And in a way, that grief brought me face to face with what I really needed to do to find inner peace, and that is being okay with uncertainty. That is accepting that this is all there is, and we have all the power to create in this moment. So why am I focusing? Like where I put my focus, that's where it grows. So I'm going to try and let's see what happens if I look at all these other things. I'm going to talk in the mirror, and I'm going to do affirmations, and I'm going to do all the things that are being made fun of, and just see. I'm just going to see from, my logical mind, let's just test it out and see what happens. And I get a little bit more confirmation that, this new person got introduced to me, and then he introduces me to a naturopath that really helped me with this particular issue. And then that person connects me with that person, and it's like slowly but surely I developed this healing team of angels around me that I've never felt so supported in my life, and they kind of just helped hold that space for me to get back up out of that. It was like disease pile of mush, and just clean up my emotional act, clean up my head, and really prepare to heal and go with eyes open and go with knowing that I'm not going to know what's going to happen, and this treatment might not work, but I tried, but I'm going to be open, and I'm not going to stop trying.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever heard such a well-articulated, beautiful story of that shift to chronic wellness. Just the beauty and the beauty, first of all, in the surrender. But also, and I try to impress this upon my audience and my clients too, the magic that you unlock when you do surrender in, and how those signs and that synchronicity begins to unfold, and you do find yourself introduced to the person who then, and maybe we do have to get to that place of being reduced to that puddle in order to fully allow in and claim that level of healing. That's a profound moment. So you then also continued with this theme of the daily infusion. Help me understand how the metaphor shifted for you.
Yeah, so that actually came about the last infusion I gave myself. I almost killed myself. You're not supposed to get air trapped into your Lyme. And I've been very careful through the whole 8.5 months that I've been infusing every day. And you're really careful when you're pushing that stuff in. Don't get air in the Lyme. But I got a little bubble into my line, and I started feeling chest pain, and it was like a 50-50 shoot whether or not this was going to have a devastating effect or not. And I had to, suck the air bubble out as best as I could with a syringe, and then wait. I had to wait to see what would happen, and if I had increasing pain, they said, you got to get to the hospital. And then even then, we don't know, you could have an embolism, you could have a stroke. And it was in that moment I actually kind of started laughing to myself. I was like, you got to be kidding. So all this time, all this treatment, and I'm the one that hurts myself? Really? Oh no, that's not happening. And I found it really comical. And it was something about that. It was just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to take this port out and infuse myself with other things. And that was when I just decided, I scheduled my surgery to have the port removed. I was already allergic to all the antibiotics, so we knew that wasn't going to be an option. So I was just like, what am I doing? I have this thing dangling from my chest that represents something that didn't work and that hurt me really badly. Yeah. So I got to reframe this stuff. I got to infuse myself with other things because this didn't work. And that was the moment. It just was very crystal clear. I knew.
I love it. So since that time, do you have 2 or 3 things that stand out as being the things with which you've infused yourself that have made the biggest impact?
Yeah, for sure, connection with other people. And myself, I'm learning to connect and listen to my body for sure. Yeah. That first and foremost, that the body has the answers for us, and that's something that once we go through chronic illness, we all, I think, come around to learning very quickly. And then connection with other people that fueled me, where there's an exchange of energy, reevaluating the people I did have in my life, and maybe infusing my life with different kinds of people to promote different perspective and to promote different shifts in my life, because we're all mirrors for each other that way. Absolutely. So it was just like, if I can expose myself to all these different types of people, which I did on YouTube mostly, and just listening to other people share their stories, it was so healing for me. Yeah, that would have to be it.
Absolutely. And so now you're getting to do increasingly work aligned with other people who are on this chronic pain, chronic illness, Lyme journey. What are some of the biggest things holding people back from claiming the kind of reframe and kind of shift that you were able to achieve for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think I struggled with this myself, which is just that we become attached to the diagnoses because we search for it for so long. Right. I think we want to understand ourselves better, and we want to know when we know something's off with our bodies, what it is, and that diagnosis can come with such a relief. And it's almost like it becomes a part of us, it becomes the thing we can blame that is not ourselves. Yes. It's like we can hang our hat on that, well, it's just my Lyme disease or my arthritis or my fibromyalgia or whatever it is. But by saying that, we're just aligning with it a little bit more and not realizing it. I don't think it's conscious. I think it's something that we don't always recognize until we get to a certain place of having to be so mindful of our energy and what we put our thoughts on, and we start doing all that work that we don't recognize all those things. It's definitely that attachment, probably.
How did you reconcile that piece, that attachment, with how you tell your own story? It's something I've struggled with chronic wellness and full circle wellness tools, is how much in serving and in connecting with people who, are on this journey themselves, I then stay connected to a story and to a diagnosis myself. And so it's actually part of how Full Circle evolved out of chronic wellness and how this work continues to evolve for me. But I'm curious about how you navigate that yourself. Do you still introduce yourself as having dealt with Lyme disease? Do you see yourself shifting that relationship to your diagnosis yourself?
Yeah, I had to think about this a lot when I started the daily infusion. I know on my homepage I say I am a Lyme disease survivor. And I put that out there because I know it's a call to a lot of people who do have this and who are in a place of maybe they do want to get better and they are curious about alternatives, but they don't know where to look. And I'm someone who's gone through that label or that, stamp. And I know what that's like. So I put it out there as a call to anybody who is going through that, who might be a little confused. It's a way to get them to say, hey, I know what you're going through. Yeah. Hey, I get ya. And it's not necessarily that I identify that that's who I am, but it's something I did experience, and I understand.
I can so relate to that. I like to think of it as doorways through which people can find me and that I can pass, but it's not the definition of the whole movie. No. It's not the definition that defines us.
Totally.
I love that. So tell us a little bit where we can find you online. I'm so thrilled that you're shining your bright light in this area that needs it so much. You have a fabulous website. You have a new announcement as well. Tell us about where we can find you and learn more.
I just launched my YouTube channel, so that's youtube.com/thedailyinfusion. And you can find me there. I'm going to be sharing my tips and my thoughts, keeping it real. Sometimes if I have some moment of inspiration, I'm going to flip on that camera and share it. I'm going to do interviews with experts, and I'm also going to have my partner, Sean, who contributes healing recipes to my website. We'll also be filming videos of him actually cooking, and he's got lots of experience in the kitchen, and he's a really great teacher, so that's going to be very exciting.
That's so exciting. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts around diet and chronic wellness. Is there a particular diet you subscribe to, or is it mostly just anti-inflammation foods? How do you look at it?
Yeah, it's whatever my body allows at the time, really.
Amen.
I have to say, I did dive into a raw vegan diet when I was initially trying to detox, and I do believe it's a great cleansing diet in juicing and smoothies. But, however, when you take a lot of antibiotics, it destroys your gut, and you get a lot of allergies, and that includes to food. Yeah. And I, over the time of taking all these antibiotics, couldn't eat a lot of things. So now it's very limited. I do have to incorporate some grass-fed meat into my diet to get protein right now, even though spiritually I'm a vegan. But I tried to stay it, and my body asked for more, and I had to pay attention to that. So absolutely, that's where I am now.
I think that's part of the surrender piece of the journey too, is we may attach ourselves also to these labels of how we eat or what diets we subscribe to or what form of medicine, and our bodies evolve and change. You know, I was such a juice smoothie girl myself, but constitutionally they're too cold for me. And when I finally found that more of an Ayurvedic take with warm broth in the morning made sense for me, it unlocked all kinds of pieces that I might not have had access to if I had continued to only come at it through the lens of one particular diet. Seems like it's another piece in that surrender component of the journey.
Totally. And just the food, and when we do develop these allergies, and a lot of people with autoimmune conditions understand this, that in itself is, you have to accept uncertainty with that and with your food, and that maybe this is the time to learn how to really hone how food is affecting your body, that if you are limited to a certain amount of things, you can really evaluate how food is affecting you and your issues around food. If you become restricted in any way, it can bring up a lot emotionally. That what does that mean to you? What were you using food for? So a lot of stuff comes out with food, for sure.
That addiction training and that self-medicating training is going to serve you well on the food front too, I can see.
Yeah, and it just clicked in my head speaking that out loud right now, so it's interesting. I'm learning that as I speak about it.
That's wonderful. Do you have a favorite recipe?
I have a favorite recipe. Well, I have a recipe that I'm dying to try that I'm allergic to, but it's on my website. It's Sean's quinoa stuffed mushrooms, which when he was cooking them, the house, they're beautiful. Everybody loves them, and I loved stuffed mushrooms before when I ate gluten. These are gluten-free, so I would love this if I could eat it.
All right, well, you're going to have to keep us posted on the blog post when you eat those for the first time, because I know it's coming.
Yes, I know. I feel it.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining us and for modeling just such an open and compassionate approach to claiming your journey as a gift, really, and then offering it up to helping those who are coming up on the journey themselves. So I just have tremendous gratitude. I'm so thankful to be connected. I look forward to staying in touch and continuing to support each other's lens on chronic wellness. Tell us again your website. I will, of course, include the link, and we'll also have a blog post.
Yeah, I'm at thedailyyinfusion.com, just like it sounds.
Perfect. Well, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Take care.
Bye.